Hey, how do you feel about some high rarity cards, or maybe some foreign ones, or maybe be ahead of the game with others by preparing for future set releases with very quick shipping? Check out EJ Gaming and use code British5 on checkout for 5% off on all your orders. Link in the description.
Greetings duelists and welcome to another video. So by next Monday we are going to receive our new Forbidden Unlimited list. It will take into effect and the format is probably going to change a very fair amount. And there was a strategy that I had that I kind of kept under wraps for a couple of months, and now looking at the next format, I think this might be a very potential strategy. So a couple months back I did a video talking about how Blazing Cartesia was going to be a good fit in the Tearlament deck, and on that video I was showcasing a little bit about this Thunder Dragon Chaos pile that I was concocting. I never showed a list and I never went super in depth with it for a couple of reasons. And the number one reason was we were in an Arise Heart format. And the second reason is I did not know if this strategy was future proof. Back then when I built the strategy, it had 3 copies of Magnamut and 3 copies of Chaos Space. Now both of those cards are limited, so I still needed to make sure that this deck was still future proof even with these 2 cards getting limited. And after doing a lot of testing, and I think we this strategy is gonna work out just fine. First I want to show you like a sample what the deck can do. I'll show you like sample hands, because you're looking at this hand and you're probably thinking, well, this looks like a really perfect hand. Not every hand is like this. However, like, I think we are onto something. But I'm going to use this specific hand just to show you what the deck is supposed to do, and then explain like the concept and explain like a lot of things around it, and why is this a potential good strategy for the next format. So we see Merly, Solar, Lubellion, Agido, and Gohime. Out of all these cards, Agido and Merly are limited, so again this hand will have a lot of variance. But let's just show like what this strategy can do. We're going to activate Solar's effect. Solar just dumps a Thunder monster from your deck to the graveyard. The Thunder monster that we're going to be dumping is called Thunder Dragon Roar. For those who are unfamiliar with the Thunder Dragons debuted on 2018, and most of them have effects when they're banished or sent from the field to the graveyard. In Thunder Dragon Roar's case, it summons another Thunder Dragon from the deck, but it goes back to the hand during the end phase. So now that we dumped the Thunder Dragon Roar, you're probably thinking, well, we still need to banish this card, and we don't know how to do it yet. Well, this is where Bestial Lubellion comes in. We're going to use Lubellion's effect, and Lubellion is going to grab us. Let us grab us Magnamut, since it's the one that's limited, just to like showcase the most optimal way to use this strategy. So now that we grab the Magnamut, we can use the Magnamut effect. Magnamut can just banish, and you can banish the Roar. And now the Roar will trigger and the Magnamut will trigger. You choose your chain links here. One of them is getting mashed. If your opponent decides to hold it for this situation. If not, then we're just going to proceed. So now that we're doing that, we're going to summon with the Thunder Dragon Roar. And there's a plethora of options. We can summon Thunder Dragon Dark. We can summon the Hawk. Or we can summon another copy of Roar, because Roar does not limit whatever Thunder Dragon you summon, so you can summon another copy of itself. We're just going to summon the Roar, and you'll see in a second why. Now the Battery Man Solar activates, and the Solar makes it so you get a token if a Thunder Dragon or a Thunder Monster is normal or special summoned. Now that we're doing that, we're going to overlay these two cards, and we're going to make Beatrice. And this is the reason I made this deck in the first place. Beatrice is pretty much like the linchpin of this deck or this strategy. You don't have to do the Beatrice right now, but I'm just showing you like one of the things that you can do as an option with the strategy. Now we're just going to go back for a second, and we're going to go back to when we summoned the Magnamut. Now we're going to put this on the top of the deck, and we're just going to summon the Thunder Dragon Dark, because this deck can get a little bit further than that. So now that we did that, something that we're going to do is we're going to take out the Magnamut, and we're going to special summon Lubellion. After that, we're going to do the Lubellion effect, and Lubellion is going to put us Brandy Regained. Brandy Regains on the board. And now what we're going to do is we're going to link away the Thunder Dragon Dark and the token, and we're going to make let us make IP Masquerena. Now what we're going to do is that the Thunder Dragon Dark will trigger, and Dark is going to grab us another monster. The monster we're going to grab is Thunder Dragon Hawk. Okay, so at this point we're already normal summoned, so we can summon them early. We can use the Merle's effect at one position, and the card that's gonna make that possible is Ohime, the Manifesto Mikanko. So early in January, alongside Purely and Rescue Ace, Mikanko was another strategy that got introduced into the TCG with the set called Amazing Defenders. And it's very surprising how that set ended up shaping up the format, because out of the 3 strategies that got debuted, this was the strategy that a lot of people had their eyes on. But when it came to future support, Rescue Ace and Purely just got significantly better support than Mikanko did. However, that does not take away from the fact that we still can use the Mikanko cards, and Mikanko can still be very viable in the format. We're not going to talk about Mikanko as a strategy, at least today, but we're going to talk about it as a potential engine. And this is what I'm about to show. So with the Manifesto Mikanko, what we're going to do is we're going to grab us this card, the Great Ceremony. And after that resolves, we need to discard a card from our hand. So you have 2 options. Either you can discard the Merle, or you can discard the Agido. We're going to discard the Agido. And now the Agido will trigger. And just take note, this is pretty much like freestyle. So we don't know what we're going to mill, but depending on what we mill, it's going to decide our next place. So we're milling 5, and we milled a Kelbeck. That being said, I guess we should just trigger the Kelbeck and see what happens after that. We'll get to the other cards that got milled in a second. And the Kelbeck got milled, is milling again, and we're milling a few more other cards. As you already saw, Tearlaments are involved. I am playing danger cards here. So another thing that really bolstered Thunder, or I guess Chaos Themes as a strategy, was the existence of Dangers. Dangers alongside Thunder Dragons was a very, very dominant force. It is something else that got perfected with the strategy. And I say if you're playing Tearlaments or anything close to like involving Tearlament cards, you should really consider the Dangers. These cards are mostly popular right now in the Dark World strategy, but in a deck like this one, when you just want to like filter through your own cards and like have a resource loop and with the gains advantage between like cards that you're banishing or summoning, yeah, I think this is could be just like very very viable. Okay, so now that we milled 5 more, uh, what we're going to do now is that we're going to activate the Great Ceremony. And Ceremony, what it does is that it can special summon Mikanko from your hand, ignoring summoning conditions. So basically, it's like a free summon for the Ohime. And not only that, the Ohime, it gets bounced in the end phase because of the Ceremony. But Ceremony has a graveyard effect as well. So basically, what you're going to do is, so the Ceremony can banish itself from the graveyard, and you can dump any Mikanko card from your deck to the graveyard. The card that we're going to dump is going to be a card that actually got released in Dune, and it's this one. It's called Arahime, the Manifesto Mikanko. A lot of people probably don't know what this card does. So what this card does is, if you have a Mikanko in your graveyard or your field, and this card is in your hand or your graveyard, you can equip this card to a monster. During the end phase, this card and the equipped monster goes back to your hand. This is a really really strong effect. I don't think this card is good in the actual Mikanko deck. However, in another strategy like this one, this card is very very beneficial, and I'll show you later why. Now what we're going to do is we're going to activate the Thunder Dragon Hawk that we added with the Dark. And the card that we're going to summon is the Thunder Dragon Roar. If you remembered what I did a little bit prior, I summoned Beatrice as a line that you could do. But with everything that we just did, we just got to the Beatrice anyway. But we had 10 more cards milled out of our graveyard as a potential option. Okay, so for those who don't know about Beatrice, I mean, you should know about Beatrice by now. But Beatrice is a quick effect detached to just dump a card. You have already seen this card in Tearlament. A lot of people played Destiny Hero Malicious as like a potential monster you can summon. You can use to summon this. Another thing that you've seen it do is like dump tier monsters, dump Ichizu monsters, like do a lot of things like that. And there's a lot of things we can do. Let's just go and do this. We're going to detach the Ohime. We can just detach the Thunder Dragon Roar as well, but that Roar was already being used, so there's no real purpose for it. And the card that we're going to dump is Starliege Safer. So now that we've done Starliege Safer, I want to get into another topic. As you guys already know, Chaos Space and Magnamut got limited in the Forbidden Limited list. And a lot of people are puzzled on why was that the hit. Like, why did they hit the Dragon deck, and why were those cards hit specifically? Something that people like probably didn't take into account is that Dragon Link won Worlds. And whenever a deck wins Worlds, Konami of the TCG has to put that deck on their radar, because if that deck is not being hit here in the TCG, they are inclined to believe that that deck could be a potential strategy, or even a potential to be the best strategy like moving forward if it's unchecked. And that's pretty much like one thing that Konami just thought about. They just pretty much just told themselves, hey, you know, dragons are going to be very strong in a format without a Rise Heart. They probably already looked at like all the other strategies, and they saw that their track record are not as impressive as dragons, and that's pretty much why they got hit. However, that doesn't say that dragons are not going to be playable this format. I think it's going to be the exact opposite. I think dragons are going to be very very strong this format, and might be even a top meta contender. But going back to Starliege Safer. So in a mill deck like this one, Starliege Safer is really cool, because if you ever end up milling like a high level dragon like Lobelion or the Chaos Emperor, you can just banish the Safer and you just grab it back to your hand. And that's a really huge benefit from a deck like this one that mills a lot. not exactly all the monsters that you need to use have to be from your hand. They can be from your graveyard. And to make things even better, you can now use Branded Regained and just grab the Seifert and just put it back to the bottom of the deck, and you're getting a free card out of it. So now we get a free draw. Now we draw into the Blazing Cartesia. This is like one of the reasons I made this deck in the first place. I will link the video in the description, but it pretty much I feel like if you're playing Tearlaments, you should really highly consider playing Blazing Cartesia. That being said, now what we're going to do is we're going to activate the Arahime, and the Arahime is going to attach itself to Batteryman Solar. It's pretty much equipped, but you kind of get the idea. It's in the spell and trap zone. And now let's try to go to the end phase. In the end phase, a lot of things are going to happen. The first thing that's going to happen is both this and the Arahime go back to your hand. So that's already a +1. The Magnamut resolves, so we're going to grab something from our deck or our graveyard. Let us grab us Chaos Dragon Levianeer, just to like explanation of simplicity's sake. And not only that, but now you pretty much have the Beatrice for next turn. You also have IP as a potential interruption. At the moment, a card that people are playing are the Sky Striker Link, the Azalea. However, I will showcase you one other cool thing that you can do about this deck. And another reason I built this deck is because this deck is kind of future proof. And what do I mean by that? As you guys already know, on the next set we're going to get is called Age of Overlord. And one of the cards from that set that's going to pretty much change the game a lot is going to be this one, SP Little Knight. I guess this will be like an introduction talking about Age of Overlord. I won't go too in depth with Little Knight. What you need to know about this card is that this is pretty much going to become the best Link 2 monster in the game. Like, this card is ridiculously strong. It's pretty much more than one interruption. And not only that, a really cool thing that you can do with this card is you can banish cards from your own graveyard. So basically, let's just read the first effect. This card is Link Fusion, using a Fusion, Synchro, XYZ, or Link monster as material, which we are because IP Master Arena is a Link monster. You can target a monster on the field, one card, my bad, just any card, on the field or graveyard, banish it. Also, your opponents, also your monsters cannot attack directly for the rest of this turn. We don't care about that. We pretty much just care about this effect. So this becomes a potential interruption for your opponent's field or graveyard. However, you can also use this card to just banish your Thunder Dragons. And then your Thunder Dragons will trigger, and then the Chaos Regain, the Branded Regain also triggers. So that's extra pluses that you're gaining out of that effect. But yeah, now that you see what the deck can do and you can see like the concept behind it, let's talk about a few key cards. One key card that I already brought up was the Arahime. Another key card that we're going to talk about is this one, Omni Dragon Brotar. So with the limitation of Bestial Magnamut, a lot of people are probably thinking, what can the dragon deck do in order to like have resiliency and like keep up in the mid to late game? Because one thing that made Magnamut very significant is the fact that you can kept looping between Magnamut and Lubellion and just kept grabbing more and more copies of Magnamut, so you just keep grabbing more and more copies of monsters. Now with the limitation of Magnamut, it's a lot harder to do. So we need to look at potential other monsters that can do that for you. And Omni Dragon Brotar is a perfect example of that. Basically, what this monster does is whenever it's special summoned, you can target a monster on the field and you can add a monster that shares the same type and attribute. And this deck is pretty cool because you can target itself, and targeting itself means that you can grab any bestial monster. Just to give an example, you can grab Magnamut, you can grab Levianeer, you can grab the Chaos Emperor, which is another option. But if you target something like Beatrice, you can get cards like the Ohime and cards like the Arahime as a potential like option. If you target one of your Thunder Dragons, you can grab like another Thunder Dragon. Like, let's say for example, you had Solar on the field and you summon the Brotar. You can just target the Solar, and the Solar can grab you like the Dragon Hawk, like for example. So now that we're on this topic, you're probably thinking, okay, this deck looks cool, but you have a lot of bricks. Like, can this deck actually be consistent? Well, let us reset our hand and see what happens, right? I wouldn't be showing you this deck if this deck was like not really consistent. This is already a consistent hand. Like, all you have to do is like activate the Ohime, dump the Dragon Dark, activate Lubellion, grab the Magnamut, banish the Thunder Dragon Dark. The Thunder Dragon Dark can just summon the Roar. You can link away the Roar to something else, or you can grab Thunder Dragon Hawk for next turn. The Ohime is level 6, as well as whatever you're grabbing with the Lubellion, so you can make Beatrice that way. You also have Levianeer. You can dump Safer to just grab back Lubellion. So this hand is playable. Let's try a second hand. This hand is a little bit awkward, but it also works. Safer itself can get you to like your Chaos Engine rolling, and Lubellion also circumvents that. For some reason, we're seeing Levianeer every opening hand. And Merly is kind of cool because Merly, like, the Tearlament monsters are not here as a Tearlament deck. They're just here to mill cards. And if you look, like, not every mill is going to be great, but we do have like cards that you can mill that can just like help with your strategy. Like, for right now, we can just do this, special this, activate this, like grab us like Magnamut, special Magnamut, banish. Let's banish like one of the Ohimes. This has an effect already. You can either A, tribute for Lubellion and put Regained and just summon IP as an interruption, or you can make Beatrice. Like, make Beatrice, detach, Beatrice just send. You can send like a Miller to see if you can mill more cards. You can send the Safer to grab back Lubellion. You can dump something else. You can grab for Safer for next turn. You can dump Chaos Space. And Ohime is a monster that cannot be normal summoned or set. So you can banish the Chaos Space, for example. Like, just banish, return, and draw. So this is just showing you a dynamic that this deck, even though it's very, very freestyle, it is open to a lot of cool options. And as you already saw with SP Little Knight, this deck is kind of future proof because future support can just really bolster the strategy even further. So we talked about the Omni Dragon Brotar. Let's talk about two more cards that I forgot to bring up. Another one will be Chaos Betrayer. And yeah, I think that's the last one I'm gonna talk about. Like, I don't need to talk about Blazing Cartesia. You already know about the Chizu monsters. You already know about Arahime, and you already know about Omni Dragon. So let's talk about Chaos Betrayer. So, while this card's in your graveyard, you can banish a Light or Dark. You can special summon this card from your graveyard, and then you can banish a card from your opponent. So this card is really, really cool because it's a monster can summon from your graveyard. You can banish materials for it. So if you're banishing the Thunders, you're getting beneficial effects from it. It is level 6, so you can make Beatrice with it. And not only that, it is a Fiend type monster. So don't be afraid to explore this card in like other strategies, like maybe Unchained or DDD or like the branded Chimera deck, and just like do stuff with it as well. In the future, we're going to receive a boss monster for the Chimera theme that can tutor this card. Right now, the main tutor would be Beatrice or just milling it. But it's just another potential option that you can just play. And yeah, I'm not going to say if this deck like has a definition for the next format. However, in a format where a Rise Heart no longer exists, I think this is a really, really cool concept. Another really cool thing about this card is you are playing a lot of Bestials. So if you end up playing like a Tearlament mirror or just facing a Tearlament deck, because Tearlament is going to be a lot more popular this next format, you have a competitive edge over that deck slash strategy. This can also play combat against the Dragon deck. And the more important thing about this deck is like this deck is just fun. Like look at the really cool things you can do. Like let's use this last sample hand that we had. You can just special Sharon dump Roar. We mill 3. We don't know what we're milling, but we'll see how it goes. We milled the Safer, which is really, really cool. Now you can special Saronir, banishing this. You can use the Roar effect, and Roar just summons like Dark or another Roar. Let us summon another Roar just to show you the Beatrice line. The Roar cannot be used anymore, but now we can make Beatrice. So Beatrice can be summoned here. Seyfert is already in the graveyard, so we don't have to dump Seyfert. We're going to detach this, and we're going to dump. Let us dump the Chaos Emperor, just to show you that, like, you know, just one thing you can do. So we dump the Chaos Emperor. Now we activate the Saronir, and the Saronir is going to dump Lubellion. So let us grab Lubellion and discard it. Send it to grave. Now what we're gonna do is we're going to banish the Seyfert. The Seyfert is going to grab us the Chaos Emperor. Let's activate Druid's Worm. Druid's Worm banish the Lubellion. Now we can activate the Chaos Emperor. We can activate his effect. We paid 1,000. This goes to the extra deck. This grab us the Lubellion, grab back to our hand. Now we can activate the Lubellion, discard it. We can grab the limited Magnamut. It's around here somewhere. There it is. We can grab Magnamut. We can special summon Magnamut, banishing like any of these. Let's just banish the danger. The Magnamut triggers for the end phase. You can tribute that Magnamut. You can summon Lubellion. And then you can Lubellion effect, put Regained or Beast. Any of them work. Let us put Beast since we haven't put Regained yet. Or let us put Regained since we have Sarcophagus in hand, just to show you something we can do with Sarcophagus. So let us put us Regained here. There's Regained. Now we do Sarcophagus. Sarcophagus is going to banish the Dark. So we're banishing Dark. And now something really cool happens. You can activate the Dark and you can activate the Regained. We're going to grab us. Let us grab us Thunder Dragonhawk. And then the regain triggers, we are putting back the dark to the bottom of the deck. And just draw a card. We draw into the Manifested Mikanko. Let's see if we can keep going. Let's do Mikanko. Mikanko will grab us the Ceremony, since it's still in our deck. And let's see. Let us read the Manifested Mikanko real quick. Okay, so we're going to dump the Ceremony, and since we have a Mikanko card in the graveyard, not a monster, we can activate the Arahime, targeting the Druid Worm or the Sharon, whichever one you wish. And then end phase, these two go back to our hand. And we're resolving the Magnamwood, so we can just grab us something for the next turn. Something that we usually grab is just a Levianeer, because it's also it's a blowout. And yeah, something really cool you can do here is you can detach with Beatrice, like in the next turn. And a card that we haven't talked about yet is Thunder Dragon Fusion. Thunder Dragon Fusion has a graveyard effect where you can banish it and you can grab from your banner. You can add from your deck a Thunder Dragon. So pretty much this is just like another resiliency card for next turn. We do have a fusion monster that we can summon with the Thunder Dragon Fusion, which is Thunder Dragon Titan. And Thunder Dragon Titan is pretty cool because it pretty much just turns your deck into almost infinite resources. You have a resource loop that you can do to like pretty much outgrind your opponent. You're never decking out with this deck. If you face Runics, your Thunder monsters are getting effects out of it, so like you're not losing to a Runic deck with this strategy. If you need to reuse the Thunder Dragon Titan, you can just fuse it for Grand Guignol, or use the tier name alongside it to just make Dragon Stapelia and just put it back in your extra deck, and then you have the Thunder Dragon Fusion again and you can just resummon it again. I've already been 32 minutes. There's a lot more I can talk about this deck. I can talk about this deck for pretty much the entire day, but I just wanted to show you this concept because next format is going to be very experimental. It's going to be a gate for a lot of different decks and strategies, and this is just an example of something you can play when a Rise Heart is no longer in the format. I already spoken about a few caveats that we have in this format involving like decks and strategies as a whole, some being very degenerate ones. But I don't think this one is very degenerate. I think this one is like a little bit more safe. But I also could be wrong. But yeah, I hope you found this very fun. I hope you found this very informative. Let me know if you are interested in more unique decks like this one. I will be trying out this deck unrated most likely when the next format happens. And I will try to get more experimental with it. But for now, all I just have to say is keep practicing and keep dueling.